But when you come out of this, what you want to focus on is the following. Hey everybody, so we have a ton to go over tonight, just an absolute ton. So let's get right into it. NVAX missed and slashed year guidance by 50%. This was just an outright dumpster fire, to say the least. So you can just see this already after hours, and all we're seeing is higher, high, higher, high, higher, high, right? So since they gapped down, that's what you're dealing with. Now, where you're at the time of watching this, we're just not sure. But if you're watching this later in the day and you see this little line, you might want to pay attention to it. Unless you're going to flip this and try to gap fill overnight. And with these kinds of earnings, I just don't see it. If we take a quick look at the snapshot and we just look at this, this is from Benzinga. If you are interested in the free trial, there's a link in the description. But you can just see revenue declined 37.6%. Okay, you can just see where you were at. I mean, it was just an outright dumpster fire of a quarter. There's very little to here that you can even see that makes sense. Loss was $6.53. How you're losing money still, $4.75. So you're losing even more money as your revenues are going up. So there's some real issues here. And look at this. This is really what I wanted to focus on. Expects revenue 2.3 to 2.3, down from 4 to 5. I mean, consensus was 4.7. No one thought that they're going to miss. Nobody thought that at all. To say that you should have lack of faith in management is probably a gross understatement. If you're going to miss by this much, you shouldn't step into like, a dumpster fire. You should be, hey, by the way, things aren't looking so good. Okay, these companies need to start making announcements. Watch this 38 3/4. You're kind of hanging in here. That was bonk level. These supports sometimes fight. You had a bear flag here, fixed, went higher. It is possible that you stop here. So you're going to want to watch this tomorrow. If you slash through this, you start going through all kinds of levels and depths that you never thought you could get to. My thought on this is that you gap down with some kind of bounce and then you roll right back down. But what this is saying, from my perspective, is broader to the market. Now, is it saying that this is bad, or is it going to say that all of these companies are going to be doing this? I'm surprised that this moved the way that it did. So is this going to be the last good quarter that we're going to see? Now, if you look at the earnings on like Moderna, 11, 8, 50, 5 1/4, right? You're not exactly going up. You're declining sequentially. So how long is this going to stay up if you're seeing that kind of demand destruction be shown by this company? So I would watch this tomorrow. You're only down 4%, which I find just amazing, but definitely something to consider. Now, the hits keep on coming tonight. UPST, we were bouncing around a little bit. I did think that you would see that little bit of a short squeeze, and quite frankly, I'm surprised you're still up because, it's not good, to say the least. They missed pretty precipitously. Always use these levels that I've kind of marked off, right? They kind of tell you where you can get in and look to short here. This was a perfect short spot. You run right to it, bonk, and then here's your reversal bar. You could tell it's your reversal undercuts. There would have been your entry. There's your stop. You could be in that short for $2 right now. You could probably still short this if you're watching right now. You broke that level. You're rolling. If you're willing to use that top, I can't imagine anybody wants to buy this company after that report. Earnings and revenue missed. That really wasn't the issue. Here's the larger issue with this company, and we could talk about it technically. Here's the larger issue, okay? At the end of the day, let's get rid of all these indicators and data. You're in a position where this company's whole model, their whole business model, if you go back and take a look at it, let's look at it a weekly because it's such a disaster. We can't fit the whole disaster on a daily chart. So the whole thing was we have this new model. We know how to calculate a lender better than anyone and then give that to a bank. And then the bank will take the loan. Okay. Their loans are on the books are increasing, meaning that what they're doing is not working. Nobody wants their loans. They're having to put their own loans on the books. After last quarter, the CEO said they weren't going to do that anymore. So they obviously have a problem with the entire business model. And I think that that's the key takeaway from here versus looking at the numbers. No one's buying their loans. They're putting their own loans on the books and eating up their own cash to do it. That's not sustainable. Something's got to give. Either they're going to have to change the way the business model is or the way they're selling the loans, and that's going to cut into their profit. So I would watch this. I think that this was a pretty much just a layup short the way you got up here after hours, and you can just kind of see where we were. We talked about that. Even if you break this level, for this to come back down to that main level, I would not think that you're going to, break here. This is actually forming a bearish harami right now. As we're talking, you're actually breaking that level. So, realistically, you could probably see 28.50 pretty quickly, 25. You break 25, all bets are off. It's not all just disaster out there. Lemonade had a really good quarter, beat expectations. And, that's actually nice to see, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping a lot of these companies do. Coming in at 65 million versus a $57 million estimate, 236 versus 213. So like they're just crushing it as far as raising guidance. That's what you want to see. And there's nothing better, candidly, I'm just going to tell you this, there's nothing better than seeing these stocks that were IPOs, that were high flyers, that have based for months and are breaking out of those bases. You want to look at names like this, okay? In the trading room, the names that we are really focused on, watch 2850 tomorrow, names that we were focused on after earnings and did quite well with. It got right to that level today. I'll show you that so you can see this. Always set your levels, support and resistance, learn how to draw them properly, because when you know how to do that, you know where you should be scaling out, right? So these kinds of names, when you're coming out with earnings and earnings are good, you're being rewarded in this market. So understand that reward is not going away. People might not like this because it's down 71 basis points today. In 3 days, you're up from 57 and you're hardly pulling back, and every day is a higher high. Going into CPI on Wednesday and you're still hanging in there? You have to take into account where you are in the cycle, right? So yeah, the Qs are down a full whopping 10 basis points today, but the largest company, semiconductor company out there, the most innovative, lowered revenue guidance by 20% today. So I don't call that. We actually traded this in the room right around here. So we actually did well with it into earnings, or into the end of the day, into the earnings calls. I was a little apprehensive to hold it, quite frankly, just because you don't know how tomorrow's going to open. Light volume, CPI, do not forget, CPI Wednesday, 8:30. There are a lot of people watching that before they put money to work. I wouldn't be going where the semiconductors are. What I would do is I would start focusing on where you're seeing inflows. Number one sector, biotech. Stop calling highs. You don't know when the high is going to be. I don't know when the high is going to be. No one makes money calling the highs or the bottom. Just trade what's in front of you. It's so much easier, okay? This is one that people are so sick of seeing, I'm sure, but here it is again, okay? If you don't get the newsletter, there's a free version below. Get it, because what we go over is extremely timely in there, and you're going to want to subscribe, especially now, because there's a lot to learn, especially if you're new and you don't have the time. It condenses everything down for you within like 30 seconds on what you need to worry about on the week, on Monday, update Wednesday, review Friday. So anyway, if you were following along, these are the 3 entries we had in the newsletter. We're doing exceptionally well with them. We haven't moved them. Okay, company after company is coming out and we're doing okay here. Now tomorrow we might take a little bit of a ding on this off the open, right? Because we're going to have to deal with, we've been NVAXed. So now I've got to deal with that. And now NVAX has become a verb. So we're going to have to deal with that. But we have to look at where we are in the pecking order going into Wednesday. And I think that's really important to start with the Qs. So the larger part of the Qs that bothers me is we're unable to get up and clear above this level. And I'm watching it like a hawk because it's not the one level that I was really worried about. But this 325.25 is starting to become an issue. So you can see right here, you got to 323.83. You can see here you cleared it. You need to close above this long, nasty red bar before we go anywhere else. I do have a huge TQQ trade on for me. It's a huge trade for me, and on a percentage basis, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm up over 10% in it at this point. But if you can get through this and push to 330, 347 is pretty much a layup. We're bumping our head, and we're trying to get through these levels. But there's one sector that's not trying, right? There's one sector that's actually doing, and that's IWM. So when you come out of a recession, and I don't care, again, call it a recession, call it a blueberry, I don't really care. But when you come out of this, what you want to focus on is the following. What's moving? Small caps always move first coming out of a recession, period. Why? They're easier companies to turn around. They can move faster, right? Large companies take a while to turn around, or smaller companies, they can turn around faster. They're more nimble, okay? So you're popping out over this. Pay attention to this. I would be looking at this trade on pullbacks. You have to be careful with Wednesday. Be careful with Wednesday. I can't stress that enough. If you watch the top 10 video that I will link at the end of this, I get really into CPI and why I think it's going to go a certain way, and you might want to watch that. I'll link it at the end. But you're trying, and you're just not there yet, right? And what are we seeing going on in the 10-year? Okay, try to clear up, and now we're going flat, which is not overly surprising here, right? So keep that in mind. And finally, I want to end with this. I never got so many negative comments from people that are bearish as when I posted this on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you might want to. I never got so many comments about, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's going to bounce again. I didn't even predict what I think is going to happen, but I'll tell you that I think we're going to slice through it. Doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that that's how I'm leaning. But you can see the two tweezers right here. So maybe we don't, because we all know what these are, right? We all know that wicks are a price rejection. So maybe we're not going to break. Maybe would have broke by now. Maybe we're going to flip this and bounce off of it. But to not watch this level and not understand that's a key level when every single short-term top in the market has been at this level, if you line this up with the S&P, would just be silly to not look at that. So we're going to stare at it and we're going to watch it. And I would suggest that you watch this level as a hawk. And what you really want to see tomorrow is you really want to see it break 2083. But CPI is going to be CPI Wednesday, and I expect light volume tomorrow. But the names we went over today, you're going to see some decent trades. And I wish you well tomorrow, and trade to win. If you're interested in the trading group, tonight is the last night, and then it's going to shut down. Preview link will be right here. By shut down, I mean I close enrollment for a period of time so that everyone new can adjust to the room. So that's pretty much it. Everybody, trade to win tomorrow. Have a good night.